Hi, can you hear me?
I can hear you fine.
All right, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Welcome.
All right.
Watching with JT. Thank you so
Yes.
much for coming in. Now, I know who you are, but I would like for you to introduce yourself and give just a brief bio as to your credentials and what it is that you do on your platform because many people use the colloquialism pocket watching as wondering how much people are making with their super chats and cash apps, but that's not what you do.
All right. All right. So, quick background. So, my name is Jason Thornton. I am a certified financial planner. That is a financial advisor that specializes in tax and wealth planning for my clients. I'm based out of St. Louis, Missouri, and that is my full-time job. I know a lot of people see me on YouTube, but honestly, that's my full-time job. I really just jump on YouTube, something that I do after hours. Now, the way that I got into YouTube just comes from the fact that I am a licensed financial advisor. I have clients who are on social media, just like everyone else is on social media, and they would randomly send me clips of people giving financial advice. And it would sound so good to them, they would send it to me as their financial advisor, and they'd ask a question: Hey, can I do this? Can I add this to my financial plan? And 9 times out of 10, it would either be bad advice or fraudulent information, things that were actually financial crimes. And after like talking to my wife and doing stuff back and forth, we realized that I think it would be a neat idea to create a YouTube channel where I kind of break down and I react to bad financial advice that these gurus online are giving. And when it came down to coming up with a name, Pocket Watching with JT, it just had this certain sound to it. You know, the concept of pocket watching, I know people have a negative sense to it, but when I thought about it, I said to myself, well, you know, I went to school for many years to learn how to pocket watch, in the sense of to learn how to observe the way that people spend their money and give them financial advice to do it the proper way so that they meet their financial goals. I thought it was something that would kind of pop people, it would catch people's attention. And when it comes to marketing, that's the big thing that you want to do. You want to catch people's attention and lead them to the information that you want to provide. So that's how Pocket Watching with JT was created.
Absolutely. Now, I found you a little bit after the demic, and you did a video, and I believe it's still up. So I'd like to segue into that.
Okay.
And it is relates to the PPP loans. My question to you is, now that the demic is, I'm just going to say neutral, because I believe we're still in it for all intents and purposes, but courts are opened up.
Right.
Now, are people still being prosecuted? Because your particular video is where I found you, and I was like, you stated that the state of Georgia had disbursed an exorbitant amount of monies, and catalyst to that is, and I had to go back and check. I'm like, oh my God, that many of the recipients were not even residents. Would you like to speak on that for a little bit?
Yeah, sure. So for those who may not be aware, the PPP loans were the Paycheck Protection Program loans. These were loans that the federal government, that the SBA, Small Business Association, that they were set up to issue to small businesses to help them keep people on the payroll, to keep people wages going on. And basically the formula came down to, they took a look at how much money that you normally pay to your employees per month, and they multiplied that by, I believe, like 2.5, right? But the issue was, the federal government understands that the average business owner is not very good with paperwork. You know, the average business owner is so focused on what they do for their business, selling a product or a service, they're not really great at paperwork. And because we were in the middle of a pandemic, the access to their accountants, the access to their financial advisors weren't as open as they normally would be. So what they did was they made it extremely easy to be able to apply for these loans. The information that you provided was basically self-certified, meaning all they wanted was for you to give them the information. They didn't have time nor the means to verify the information. So you could have went online. You could have told the federal government that you have 30 employees and you pay out, $100,000 per month, and they just would have said, okay. But in the fine print, it said, we will check. We reserve the right to double check and verify your information. And later on, we may even require you to provide documentation that proves the information. Most scammers, most people didn't pay attention to that part. They just focused on the fact that you were able to provide the information, the government received the information, and 9 times out of 10, they processed it as if the information was accurate, and they direct deposited hundreds of thousands, millions, really, I believe billions of dollars to people who are not actually qualified to take on these loans. Now, that being said, many people took advantage of this opportunity to try to scam the government. And there's people who believe that they got away with it because most people don't understand how the federal government works when it comes to law enforcement, right?
Especially fraud.
Yeah, especially fraud. The issue is the average person, their understanding of law enforcement is on a local level, a street level. The street level of law enforcement kind of goes like this. A crime is committed. Someone reports the crime. Immediately, your local police department is going to act upon the information and attempt to stop or catch the person who committed the crime, right? That's what you see on TV. That's what you see on the news. On the federal level, it really doesn't work like that unless it's some sort of high level, intense, hostage situation, something like that. Because on the federal level, what they'll do is someone commits a crime. Somebody else reports that this person is committing a crime. The government will sit back and observe the person committing this crime.
And please let people know, I'm sorry, that it can take months because some people think, well,
years.
Right. Oh, they haven't knocked on my door yet. I'm scot-free. Oh, no, you're not.
It can take years. They will observe you committing a crime for years because the concept is they don't just want you. They want to see if they can connect you with other people. They also want to make sure that they have a foolproof case. They want you to be able to walk into a room with you and possibly your lawyer, drop the case in front of you, and within 15 to 20 minutes, you decide you're going to take a plea deal and it doesn't even go to trial. So on the federal level, it's different. So to finally answer your question, are these people going to continue to be prosecuted? Are we going to see more people go to jail? The answer is absolutely yes. Because when the Biden administration came in, one of the things that they did early on, they extended the statute of limitation from, I believe it was like 2 years to 10 years.
Yes.
So we're talking about till 2030 or 2031, 2032, the federal government still has the ability to track down these PPP loan scammers and prosecute them. So, yeah, absolutely. We're going to see more and more and more.
And it's sad because many of them, from my research, are in the barber cosmetology area. Also, landscaping was huge.
Yeah.
And I think you, that was one of the ones that you did. It was a police officer.
Yeah. And now, to be honest, I don't believe a lot of them were actually in those industries. I think the issue is to apply for and say you're a barber or a beautician or you do landscaping, it's very easy to say that, right? So a person who says, yeah, I braid hair or something like that, yeah, I'm a hairstylist. Or a person that says, yeah, I cut grass. I got a lawnmower, I cut grass. I've got a grass cutting business, right? It's easy to kind of just put that on the application, because in reality, a lot of these people, when news reporters would go, and all of this stuff is public records. That's another thing that I think they don't understand. You can just Google a list of people who got a PPP loan within your local area, and you'll get their names, how much they got, their addresses. And many local news crews went around just to double check on these people, and they were given addresses that were like their apartment. They'd knock on the door, they're asked, hey, is so-and-so business here? And the people had no idea what they were talking about. So it's a very easy crime to expose. It's an extremely easy thing to track. And for people to honestly believe that they got away with $20,000 from the IRS or from the government, and they're never going to come back and try to track down that money, you're fooling yourself. They're going to check up on you.
Absolutely. And it's funny because after my regular job, I do other things that include skip trace. And many people that I found was on a PPP loan list.
Right.
Doing rideshare, or they had taxi cab companies, led me right to them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if myself, I mean, I'm experienced, but just say if someone like me can easily find you, think about what the feds are doing.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, honestly, a lot of times they're just building up a bigger case. Or if you are found doing something else, they can use this to leverage it against you. Honestly, I mean, I tell people, if you are in that situation, it makes more sense to contact an attorney, figure out exactly what makes the most sense with this defense attorney. But it would make more sense for you to go to the government rather than the government to come to you, because you're in a stronger position to make a deal rather than them having to chase you. But I mean, to each his own. I mean, you do what you want to do. I'm just saying, if I was in a position where I knew I committed a federal crime, I would be in a position of trying to get a defense attorney to advise me on my options and what I should do, rather than sit on my hands and just wait for someone to come and knock on my door.
Right. Okay, the next. Insurance and the travel industries as it relates to Ponzi or MLM. First, what is the definition of a Ponzi scheme and an MLM?
Okay, great question, because a lot of people get these somewhat confused, and there are some businesses that do mix the two together. But traditionally, a Ponzi scheme is a fraudulent investment scheme where a person or an entity is claiming that they are going to invest your money and give you a decent or a ridiculous amount of a return. But in reality, they are not investing your money. Most of that money they are living off of, and the rest of the money they're using to get new investors so that they can use the new investors' money to, one, live off of, but also to pay the old investors what they believe to be their return, the interest on the investment, the return on the investment. And it just snowballs to the point where they run out of new investors to pay the old ones, and it just falls apart. So that's the traditional model of a Ponzi scheme. Now, a pyramid scheme, which is a strong model that multi-level marketing companies use. A pyramid scheme is where you have a what we refer to as a money transfer endless recruiting scheme, where you have a subpar product or service where you are marketing this subpar product or service through a network of people recruiting new business owners, what they refer to them as independent business owners. But in reality, you're just people who are referring new people into the scheme, and you're making a commission when the new person who joins the scheme has to buy the starter pack or has to buy their inventory. And that's another scheme that eventually falls apart because you cannot continue to find new people to bring into the scheme to prop up the failed business model. Now, there's some people who will say, well, your corporate job is a pyramid scheme because you have on top, you have a CEO on top, then you have regional managers, and then you have local managers, then you have you, the employees. That's a pyramid. That's not the definition of a pyramid scheme. They try to confuse people who aren't really as financially literate, and people will think, oh, well, yeah, I guess that is a pyramid too. No, that's not a pyramid, because the people within the corporate job setting, they are not being paid to endlessly recruit new people into the organization. They're either being paid by the hour if they're on the worker level, the local worker level, or they're being paid a salary if they're at higher levels. Their payment does not depend on them bringing new people into the organization. And that's a major difference. And you'll see a lot of companies, be them like nutrition companies, makeup companies, products that are seen to be legitimate, but they use the model of MLM, multi-level marketing, as a distribution. Well, it's 2023. You don't need network marketing. You can go from the factory to the internet to the end user. It's an inefficient way to sell a product. No matter how you look at it, it makes no sense for someone to say, instead of spending money on advertising, we spend the money to pay our distributors. That's a failed business model. It makes way more sense to simply do some advertising or go with a intermediary website like Amazon or something like that. You would make way more money. So at this point in time, 2023, I don't see a logical explanation of why someone would use an MLM structure other than the fact that it's a great way to make money if you're on top of the pyramid, because what you're actually selling, you're not selling the product, you're not selling the service, you're selling the opportunity. You're selling the opportunity for someone to become rich. And there's no competition with selling hope. You're selling people, oh, if you bring in two friends and your two friends bring in two friends and they each bring in two friends, you'll be making $10,000 a month passively. That's why people join these things. They don't join for the product or the service. And that's why it will always be some sort of company that does this because they found a legal loophole. And selling hope to people, especially low-income people, selling hope to them has been a great way to make money since for thousands of years. Selling hope to low-income people will always bring in a source of income.
Absolutely, and it's unfortunate. So that being said, everyone loves to travel. Now, your thoughts on travel and perhaps pyramid schemes where you're told that you'll get a free trip, you just have to pay a certain amount, and others. Now, I believe that there are legitimate companies, but for this broadcast, I would like for you to speak on the ones that aren't legitimate and the red flags that one should automatically notice.
Right. Well, I mean, the thing that I noticed when it comes to multi-level marketing travel agencies is that they've done several reports. Like if a person really wanted to do some research, some due diligence, right? Just go online, go on YouTube and look up news reports covering companies that were multi-level marketing travel agencies. And they show people time after time after time that these packages are more expensive than what it would actually cost if you simply Googled a trip to Jamaica or a trip to Costa Rica or wherever you want to go. The actual cost, you're not saving money, right? These packages aren't cheaper than what you can find commercially. with no special code, with no special membership. These packages actually cost more money than what it would if you were just Joe Smo walking off the street and typing in, I want to go to Puerto Rico, and you'd probably find a cheaper package. So the question is, well, why does the package in the multi-level marketing company cost so much? Well, it costs so much because they have to make a profit. Because you got the person on top of the pyramid that needs to make money, and then you have all of the other people in the upline that needs to make money off this transaction. So it makes it functionally impossible for this trip to actually be some sort of market advantage to just going on Google or going on a traditional travel agency and comparing the prices, because the traditional travel agency is actually making money off the travel. They don't have a ridiculous distribution system of multi-level marketing where you have to pay off people to make it profitable. So the biggest red flag is to ask yourself the question, or just to simply Google and check and see, okay, this is how much the package costs if I go with this multi-level marketing company. Just Google and see how much it would cost if you just did it on your own. If it costs less, there's a problem. Go with the thing that costs less.
Now, are trips ever free?
See, I've seen those where they talk about, okay, the free trip. You get this free trip and you do. Most of the time, no, because they make you jump through so many hoops. By the time you're done, you wish that you would have actually paid money, right? A lot of these so-called.
Why is that? Can you explain that?
Okay, all right. So
and let me get this up real quick. Evo the artist, and thank you, says, when recruitment is more important than the product, it's a pyramid scheme.
Absolutely. Evo, you're absolutely correct. Whenever the attention and the emphasis of these business meetings that you go to, or whatever the heck they want to call them, when they're talking more about the opportunity of the money you can make by recruiting people, then hey, take a look at the product, take a look at the service. This is a really good product, really good service. It's better than the competition. It costs less than the competition, or it costs the same as the competition. Okay, that makes sense. But when they're focused on the recruiting,